Hello, Merry Christmas. And if you're offended by Merry Christmas, I'm not sorry. I say Merry Christmas. Today, I want to talk to you about not just this book, Silent Night, the story of the World War I Christmas truce, but the event. Off the bat, if you're interested, I strongly recommend this book or any other book on the subject. Beginning of World War I, widespread trench warfare. If you want to ask me what the scariest environment imaginable is, it's the Western Front during World War I. Two trenches, a solid stalemate. In between them is a jumbled mess of mud, blood, dead bodies, barbed wire over the fences. Over the trenches. You can't stick your head out up through the trenches or someone would shoot at you. Every offensive on either side only ended in massive casualties. Very little ground was ever gained. Water was constantly filling in the trenches. People were getting trench foot, which is basically your foot is submerged in water so long. This is disgusting and I'm sorry, but the flesh just falls off your foot. It is a hellscape. It's like something out of a nightmare, only it was real. The scariest environment imaginable. Now, not to give too brief of a history, just to give a brief setup if you don't know much about World War One. The war started when the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was killed, and because of all the alliances, it led Europe into war. At first, they thought the war would be over by Christmas, and there was kind of a carnival atmosphere going into the war. World War I was the first modern war, the kind of European attitude towards war, at least up till this point, was the enemy is your opponent, and you're not fighting to kill him, you're fighting to defeat him. This war was like nothing ever seen before for reasons I describe, as well as poison gas was introduced. Of course, I don't think it was introduced till the year after this. It saw tank warfare for the first time. In fact, the first German troops attacked by a tank thought they were being attacked by the devil. But just that's it, a horrible environment. Terrifying. Christmas is coming, morale is at an all time low, and the British troops start hearing singing from the German side of the trenches. In many cases, it was Silent Night, Holy Night, and there were incidences where, not to be outdone, the British would be singing the same carol at the same time, one in English, one in German. And that was Christmas Eve. Now, the next morning, Christmas miracle is the only way I can describe it. There were, like, one incident I'm going to talk about. The British soldiers seen a young German soldier come up holding a piece of a tree with candles on it. Okay, now it may seem absurd in this day and age not to recognize that as some form of a Christmas tree, but at that point, the Christmas tree wasn't too well known outside of Germany. And, well, this brave German soldier ventured across the trench lines, and, well, we got the Christmas truce. It's a story that's equally heartwarming and tragic because the war did not end. And one of the things they did, they buried their dead. They celebrated, played games of soccer, and if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that when you go to war, at some point, you're going to be confronted with the fact that that enemy isn't too different from you. You and him both might like to hunt and fish. You might have the same hobbies or the same goals in life. And that's what these soldiers were confronted with. That enemy really isn't too different from them. In one case, one of the British soldiers found out one of the German soldiers was his barber before the war. And it was just a Christmas celebration. So much. One of the British soldiers even won one of the German soldiers' Pickelhelber helmets in a card game, and so much trust had built up between them, the German asked, "Look, I need my helmet back tomorrow. I'm going on parade." And sure enough, the helmet was duly returned. One of the British soldiers, even for a souvenir, got buttons snipped off the jacket of one of the Germans and sent it home to his parents with a letter explaining he even got it with the Germans' permission. The tragedy of this story is that because of bureaucracy, the war was allowed to continue and rage on for like 3 or 4 more years. Chemical warfare would be introduced, the tanks, eventually America would get involved. This story is the fault line of, I think of the beginning of the war and the Christmas truce as the fault line of World War One. And the Western Front is the fault line of the 20th century. World War II came from the way this war ended, all the bitterness and resentment. This war, more than any other event, shaped the 20th century and helped shape our world into what it is today. I recommend it if you can get on it. If you can't, I recommend this book if you can get it. If you can't, History Channel did an awesome documentary, and I believe it's still on YouTube. Check that out. You won't regret it. But just, again, I recommend this book or any other book. I'm not going to give the book a rating because this is more of a you get out of it what you get out of it thing. So until my next review, Merry Christmas. And if you research the story, get the book, or watch the documentary, I hope you get something out of it. Bye till next time. Like and subscribe.